Hey, folks, the first edition of 2023 is also the 300th edition. We got Cam Underwood here, as we typically do on a Wednesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Get on in here, leave those comments and questions, and invite some friends. We've got a full 60 minutes here of Miami football talk right here at the Voice of College Football. Cam, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too, Mark, and everybody watching.
Absolutely. 2023, and another off season of hope, another off season of tremendous progress. So it's not shallow hope. It's based on transfer portal success and a early national signing day that was among the best in college football. So 2023, we can feel optimistic about.
I mean, we should for the Miami Hurricanes, and it's going to continue to have to be moves made off the field because obviously we don't play until September. But, the things that we are doing seem to be along the path towards building, the kind of program that we want to have. And again, it's just full vertical alignment with, football leadership, athletic leadership, and overall university administration to the point of, hopefully great success. So recruiting and talent acquisition. So we're improving the roster and everything. Even though Miami was, the most talented team in the ACC, other than Clemson, obviously the result did not bear that out. But hey, I know that people are, clamoring for immediate change for last season, but that's in the past, guys. I know everybody, it's not an apples to apples comparison, but of course everybody's making the comparison to Mario Cristobal and Sonny Dykes, with TCU in the national championship game, basically with a lot of the players that were there. Would that have been great? Yes. Is that what happened? No. Is that the direction that we're going? I mean, eventually we want to get there, but we're taking a different path. So, there's that. But yeah, I think a lot of things are going in the right direction, and it gives us plenty to talk about until, spring ball and fall practice and all that kind of stuff.
Colby Young, biggest positive player surprise for 22?
Absolutely. 100%. You get a 6'5" JUCO guy like during fall camp, and then he ends up being your number one receiver, basically. That the return on that investment was, I put $5 into this company that my dorm room friends or friends on my floor in my dorm are starting, and they needed $20 to buy a domain. So I gave them, $5. So I have 20% of the company, and the company ends up being Google. Well, maybe not that, but like that's the kind of return. You really just on a flyer, on a lark, and this kid becomes, the number one receiver on the team. So, hopefully he's able to continue that kind of a thing. And, hopefully, and, you had other guys who took steps forward as well. I mean, Cameron Kinchins was an All-American blue chip recruit, and he ends up being a first-team All-American this year. Leonard Taylor, incredibly productive. Now it was intermittent and maybe not the overall numbers because, you had other guys on the line, like an Akeem Mesidor comes in and he's honorable mention All-ACC. This year and things. But yeah, I think that Colby Young, like in terms of, the return on investment, what you thought you might get from him to what you got in those. Now, eventually the offense was terrible. So some of his impact was mitigated throughout the rest of the season. But yeah, he was pretty good.
So, of course, we always take the comments from the live chat, and we are inviting you to, of course, leave those comments and questions for Cam. But also we tend to, at times, and this is my responsibility, ignore those comments that came out during the week from a number of people. Now, I'm going to take homage to one that why this is, hey, Mark, and this will be our only diversion from Miami football. How much did Ohio State pay out in NIL, blah, blah, blah? And then he goes on to talk about Ryan Day's statement and then calls me a hypocrite, or maybe he's I don't know if Ryan Day's the hypocrite.
Ryan Day is the hypocrite.
Okay. All right. That's okay. Because my point was going to be, we don't talk about Ohio State football here unless there's some kind of national topic, of course. But we talk Ohio State on the Ohio State show.
Well, but let me interject there, especially because the the nudge, nudge, wink, wink, unsaid part is, guys like Brandon Ennis from American Heritage, 5-star wide receiver, signs to O State, then talking about, oh, well, I did get NIL offers from other teams, but, da, da, da. And of course, everybody connects, 2 + 2 = 4, quick math. Like, oh, well, Miami offered him an NIL deal. I mean, it's the landscape. So, we're offering pretty much anybody. Now, you're not having meetings with the NIL representatives until you've signed, because in the state of Florida, you cannot, as a high schooler, do that. And it's not pay for play. It is an inducement. It is an addition. But, to be like, oh, yeah, well, these teams tried to recruit our guys, and they were offering NIL stuff, but they signed, with us. What you're trying to tacitly say is, we didn't do that, but, to the point of the commenter, it's the landscape of recruiting now. If you're not paying NIL, then you're doing it wrong. But hey.
And of course, for the full rundown of any of the recent signees, go to State of the U and check out Cam's recruiting notebook. Is that the correct term?
Recruiting notebooks, yes.
Yes.
One for every single player. Whew. And it's funny because, people talk, oh, well, nobody wants to read all those and da-da-da-da-da. And then other sites are going through and doing notebooks now. Or player breakdown, whatever, the notebook vibe. They're calling it something different, but they're doing notebooks one a day or one every couple of days. And it's just funny to me, especially when a lot of those guys are like, yeah, there's no value in that. And why are you da 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 da? And then, interesting, curious even. But, hey, like I said, I stand on my work. I know that we are at the top of what we do and how we do it. And I mean, there's other websites who do things differently, and whatnot. And they no umbrage, or anything taken. No, I'm not going to take anything away from them, but I am also going to stake my claim and talk my shit about what we do and how we do it.
So, of course, there's a full profile on Emory Williams there.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
I mean, no, yeah, there is. I'm sorry. I was drinking the water, as you can see. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You know what's going on right now? Now that I've got the other page pulled up to look at comments, I can't even see your responses or facial expressions now because I've got the full screen on the comments here. So, Emory Williams, obviously, not necessarily a guy that's going to be counted upon based on his recruiting ranking, unless, correct me if I'm wrong, that he's going to be a starting quarterback here. So what was the...
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at a guy. I mean, I think that he's maybe a little underrated, not super underrated. He showed very well at the Elite 11. He played well in high school. Now he plays for a smaller school that's going to be outgunned, in terms of on the field when they go up against other competition around. The town of Milton, Florida is not oh my God. Sorry, I'm watching the Miami Georgia Tech basketball game, and this dude from Georgia Tech just had a 2-hand tomahawk on somebody in transition there. But but Emory Williams, he's going to be, I mean, he's fine. I think that he has the traits and skills to be able to play at Miami. I just also think that it's going to be 3, maybe 4 years. I think he's going to be more of a, I mean, he's got good size. He's 6'3", 6'4", 205. So he has good size. He has a strong enough arm. It's not like a, he doesn't have a Josh Allen rocket or a Stephen Morris, kind of arm or anything like that. But I mean, he has a strong arm, so he can make the throws. You're probably not going to throw late across your body. You're not going to really live on the 12 to 8 comeback on the left sideline from outside the right hash. That throw, that's a long throw. So you're not going to live on those, but he can throw a quick out to the far side if you need. But I think it's really going to be, maybe 3 or 4 years until he's in the conversation. And honestly, the goal should be that he gets recruited over pretty much immediately. And he's a program player. So if he ends up developing and can be, in terms of individual performance, remove the team. If he can be individual performance, Stetson Bennett, right? Maybe, okay, fine. Let me take that away. DJ Shockley,
Okay.
DJ Shockley he sat and waited with patience. He didn't play until his 5th year at Georgia. Something like that, and it's just like, okay, well, we had these first round, number 1 overall picks. We had those guys, but like, you're the stopgap in between, way down the line. I think that can be in Emory Williams. Anything above that that's house money, I think. I think he can be a good, solid backup. He can be solid if he's pressed into action or something. I think he has a decent developmental ceiling. And like I said, maybe he surprises, because when he went to the Elite 11, he was going toe-to-toe with everybody's 5 stars, your Jackson Arnolds, your Dante Moores, your Nico Iamaleavas, all those guys. I mean, he was maybe a tier below that, but with his ranking, you would expect him to be bringing up the rear of the caboose of the train. And he's solidly in the middle upper pack in that kind of a group. So he definitely does have talent. I do think that it's going to take a few years. And I think that the goal there was, you're going to take him because you believe in him. I think that, you want the Jaden Rashada in the class who has a stronger arm and a higher ceiling right away. And then also, I think that the goal is going to be, he satisfied the goal of getting a quarterback in the 23 class. I think you need to get the quarterback that you really want in 24. I know somebody asked me about it online, and I was, sometimes it irks me because, like, I know that I'm a blogger and, like, it's a part-time thing and whatnot, but, like, sometimes y'all make really detailed, specific professional requests, and I'm like, I don't get paid a lot for State of the U, but I get paid, bro. And, like, you asked me, like, a get paid level question with contingencies and subsets and da-da-da. So, like, I intentionally ignored that one because it was like, you want some substantial work for free 99, which, like, again, you will get from time to time, but, like, that was... It had like 4 question marks in the tweet. Like, I was like, bro, like, come on. But off the top of the dome, I will say, if you're not going to get a Dominic Raiola, wait.
Yes.
It's right. Donovan, right?
Dominic. Yes.
Right. Okay. That's the kid, the 5-star who just decommitted from O State. But he's probably going to go to Nebraska, where, like, his whole entire family went. But he's the number 1 quarterback in this class. If you're not going to get him, I would look at Langston Hughes, high school 4-star Prentice, a.k.a. Air Noland. 6'3" lefty, decent, like a strong enough arm, incredibly quick release. He's able to move. He's tall. He's thin. He was teammates with Joshua Horton, who just signed with Miami, led Langston Hughes to their first state championship this current year for a school that's only been around since 2009. I would say look at Air Noland as a guy who can really fit here in Miami. That would be my early answer, and obviously leaving room for things to change, but I would say that would be the one to look at from now.
We were both wrong. Dominic and Donovan are both in the family. They're both football coaches / former players in the family. It's Dylan Raiola.
I knew they were all D. Yeah, so Dylan Raiola is the kid. Donovan and Dominic are his dad and uncle, who both played in Nebraska. So, like, I've been counting down the moments until he commits to Nebraska and, Matt Rule.
Falcon Rex, we appreciate that super sticker. Thanks you so much. We appreciate you being here, of course. Falcon Rex back here with tough Ohio State loss, Mark. It sucks like Miami 2002. All right.
I mean, they at least lost on their own merits. They didn't have to enact an OSU alum to cheat for them. At least they lost on an act that they did on the field. By missing that field goal was wow, wide left. But hey.
Oh, yeah. It had obviously no chance, and he had just hit a 48-yarder a few minutes earlier.
Yeah. Hell of a game, though.
I was going to say that was a hell of a game. I didn't know if they were going to show up. I didn't know what the confidence level was, and I knew Georgia would show up, and I knew that was possible. An epic game, and that's what we got. Thank you for that, Falcon Rex. We appreciate you. You're just not a Stetson Bennett guy.
He's extra regular. He's super extra regular.
Where is he out of 130 FBS quarter? What, he's 25?
Sure.
40?
Fine. But he's also, his age, is he 25? Is he 40? Like, at some point you got to, bro, he's like
coming more and more.
Yeah, but he's like, like the 9th year dude at Oregon, Cam something, like.
Cam Rising at Utah.
No. There's a tight end at Oregon who literally got a 9th year approved.
Oh, I got to look that up.
Like, literally.
I missed that.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, he got the COVID year for extra, and I think he had 3 season-ending injuries, where he missed a year that he tore his knee up in the first game. It was so bad that he missed the next year entirely. So you get 2 years for that. He had a natural, actual redshirt year for physical development. This dude just got a 9th year approved. And I think that him and Stetson Bennett were in the same recruiting class. It's just, I mean, he's fine and he's a good college quarterback, sure. But no, I'm not a fan.
Cam McCormick, first season at Oregon was 2017. So where are we getting 9 years? You're right. When I looked it up, I put in 9th year of eligibility
17, 18,
and
19,
it came
20,
right
21,
out.
22, 23 is
17 through 23 is 7 seasons. Anyway, you're right. It comes up 9th year. But I'm looking at
because I think he gets 2 more years.
Oh, I gotcha.
Or something.
Yeah.
So okay. I think he was a 2016 signee. So he had a redshirt year. So you add on 1, and I think that's what it was. But yeah, he's been there since the turn of the century. Basically, it's crazy.
I asked you a question here in the last couple of weeks concerning how many of the current class between Florida State, and Miami were being battled upon between at least 2 of those schools. Yeah. James Miller makes a comment here. I don't know what he was responding. It could have been to your answer of that question. He says, let's be clear. When Miami and Florida State went head-to-head in recruiting, Florida State won more times than not. I don't know how far he's going back with that statement, but
I mean, I think he's talking about this class, but I know that we were after Hakeem Williams and that didn't shake. Hussey and Joseph. I mean, we were recruiting Hussey more than Joseph, but Joseph was on the board, but we didn't really go all in. And then if you look at it, we got, I mean, Hussey, that was one that we probably wanted more, just because he's, a better prospect and better player. But I mean, this is kind of almost years ago, I wrote a piece about Miami recruiting versus Alabama. And then we talked about the numbers between those 2 teams at that time. But the other caveat is there's a whole class of player that the other team is recruiting that we can't even talk to, that won't even return our messages, right? So even if that were true, and I don't believe it to be true, let's just run down the list of players that Florida State couldn't even get a call back from. Francis Mauigoa, Jaden Wayne, Riley Williams. That's 3 of your top. Samson Okunlola. That's 4 of your top 5 recruits in this class. Then you lost out on number 5, or the 5th of that group would be Ruben Bain. And then he says no. Ray Joseph, no. You know what I mean? Robert Stafford, no. The list goes on and on of guys that even if you try to recruit them, they're doing you have a fight with a family member and your phone kind of, and you're man, anyways, they half of our class did that to y'all. So even if, and again, I would have to really look at it. And so apart from those 3, I mean, maybe it is a Florida State 3, Miami 2 in head-to-head this year, but then talk about the 12 that y'all wanted and would definitely take on your roster who paid you dust that signed with Miami. That also factors into it.
At some point during the offseason, and we've got plenty of time, I would like to start a series, and we've done this in the past, where we go through the recruiting classes and we go back in time, and we would start with, let's say, 21, which obviously there's only 2 seasons in the books for those guys, but kind of chart and restack and reevaluate and re-rank those guys and see who came through and who was a big bust.
Look, I'm going to tell you this before we even do that. Cam Kinchins is all the way up at the top. Even with 2 5-stars in that class, I'm telling you right now, wherever he was in that group, number 24, wearing the Underwood family number, hey, all the way to the top.
Nate, appreciate you being here. Hey, Cam, they are building a new football facility. What's
Nice.
going on with the one that was built during the Mark Richt era?
All right, so this was actually just announced today, or finally confirmed from the University of Miami. They have unveiled plans for a new $100 million football operations center. It's a 7-story building. It's going to have all kinds of incredible stuff in there: NIL room, locker rooms, meeting rooms, recruiting spaces. Just whatever you think a top of the line football operations center should have, it will have. That is actually going to be integrated or connected, I believe, to the Carroll Sofer indoor football practice facility. So think of the operations center as like the offices, if you will, and then the practice facility still being the practice facility. So I believe that is going to still remain standing, Nate, and they're going to be connected, so you can go from the new locker room in the operations center over there. Now, there might be a bit of, demolition and rebuilding, obviously, for space and layout and connectivity, because, like, I believe you have the Dwayne the Rock Johnson locker room in the Hecht Athletic Center or football practice facility area now. But you can't just like pick that up and move it. So you probably tear it down and then, rebuild it or, something like that. But yeah, the Carroll Sofer indoor practice facility is going to remain, to the best of my knowledge. But you're also going to get this additional football only facility. And that's what I was talking about earlier at the beginning. I meant to transition there. But yeah, you have vertical alignment, like you come in with a clear idea in terms of the coach and how a program should look and run. This is part of that, right? Then you get an athletic director in Dan Radakovich, who improved all the, things at Clemson, from your facilities, from your operations center, all of those things that they had there, the culture, everything that they built, he was there for. And a party too. Now, not necessarily in the football department, but like running that athletic department holistically. He created the infrastructure that they are now enjoying. So now you get the alignment of the overall athletic department director, the athletic director, saying, okay, cool, this is what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And then from the trustees and the university administration, you have that same alignment, because like if there was not alignment from all the way up, you're not getting 9 figures to build a building just on the strength of a donation. You still got to get that past zoning. You still got to get that past, the construction phase, because now you're going to have another 2 years of construction on campus right there. What are you going to do? Because that's near lying to the tennis center, so like what kind of space constraints are going to be over there? That's over by the intramural fields. Okay, what kind of space constraint is there? That's, but all these different kind of things are still ongoing, right? So to be able to have that, you're going to have buy-in all the way up to the top. And again, you're not getting 9 figures to do with as you please and just kind of doing it. This is not entirely autonomous. So when you have that, yeah, it's really taking a step forward. And if you're talking about making the program holistically the way that you want it to be, and this is what Mario Cristobal has talked about, this is another step along that path. Where does the money come to fund this? Well, let me look at this specific press release. Click. University of Miami wants to be the best. Yeah. Oh, we've already partnered with design firms and architecture to a canal bridge connecting to the existing Carroll Sofer indoor practice facility, parking garage. Are they going to get rid of the parking lot? I'm interested to see where this is going to be physically. But as you go, like, you're going to get donations from all over the place. You're going to maybe do some financing and whatnot. But yeah, a lot of it's going to be straight donations. And then there are multiple budgets in an institution such as the University of Miami. Let me say that again. There are multiple budgets. So you can find some money from somewhere in the budgeting of the University of Miami's coffers. And I know that people are going to say, okay, hey, you feel they felt some kind of way because, we're going to pay a buyout to Manny Diaz to get Mario Cristobal and basically use profits from the University of Miami Medical Center. I mean, I don't think that's true, but like profits are in the bank and it's disposable income. And if we can do with it as we see fit, but there's a variety of things, it can be capital campaigns, it can be facilities upgrades, it can be athletic, it can come from a lot of different places, but that's really where you're going to find that. And D-Rock Irish, especially at a private school like Notre Dame and like Miami, that's really going to be more of the thing. You're going to leverage the different funds that you have, but then also go to fans and alumni and other stakeholders. Like Miami has a really, really strong business school, like the Wayne Huizenga Business School. Maybe you leverage that, or those connections. There's lots of people. I have a good friend, Bacardi Joe, who was my roommate in college and worked for Bacardi for a number of years. Now works at a different spirits company. But like, people such as that who are, in executive leadership and they have money to donate to their alma maters, they're going to do that. And I mean, look, I know that Miami is not the NFL factory that it once was, but there's plenty of people who care about Miami athletics and they want to give money back to it. And this is a good way for them to do so.
Every Wednesday night, folks, get on back here next Wednesday. Bring those comments and questions. Bring some folks with you. It's always a good time. We still have 35 minutes, something in that range. So bring some folks with you tonight.
Goodness. Sorry, I'm watching the basketball game and Miami's losing by 12 to Georgia Tech, who's not really good right now. Giving up 37 points with 4 minutes left in the first half. That's thanks.
Falconer X. Cam, can you chill the Cormani McClain haters?
Look, man, Cormani McClain's going to go where Cormani McClain's going to go. So get that in your head already. Do I want him to be a Miami Hurricane? Absolutely. I'm not speaking out of turn because I might have said this on the timeline. If I didn't say it on the timeline, I'm saying it now. I wrote him off in this class when his mother tweeted 14 minutes before his supposed signing ceremony on Wednesday of the early signing period that he was not signing. That was the day that I said, oh, word? Bye. I've followed recruiting for more than 20 years. I've been around it, blogging it for 12 to 15. I've seen this kind of a thing before. And where this really comes from is during the All-American game, the Under Armour All-American game yesterday, he was being interviewed by Matt Schick of ESPN. And he was like, okay, so what's up with your recruitment? He goes, yeah, I'm still committed to Miami. He goes, okay, well, are there any teams that you're like, any other teams you're considering? He goes, Miami, with this big smile, this nervous smile on his face, admittedly. And everything. He's like, yeah, but I'm signing on the 15th. And then Matt Schick followed up, like, are there any other teams, that you're considering? And he goes, no, that's it. And I think this is my outside read. Number one, it was not convincing to me. I did not believe that the only team he's considering is Miami at all for a variety of reasons, both internal to this recruitment and external, taking in, observations from previous. And I just don't think that I just don't buy his act of like naivete. You know what I mean? Like like you go on the field and you talk that talk and then like all of a sudden you cross the sideline and then you're just like meek as can be and like, I don't know. And I don't like it's disingenuous to me. I don't believe it. I really don't. And I know some people are saying, that's just who he is. And he's just this really shy kid and blah, blah, blah. It's one thing to be shy. It's another thing to never do recruiting interviews. You know what I mean? Like that's an intentional move, and I did not find it to be genuine that he was only considering Miami. He also said he's going to sign on the 15th. I have no idea what he's going to sign on the 15th because that's a Sunday. And I mean, like, again, you cannot sign an NLI right now because the window's closed. You have you have to wait until February the 1st. You can sign a non-binding financial aid agreement, which binds the school to the player, but not the player to the school. If you remember, famously, Dalvin Cook sent in financial aid agreements to Florida, Florida State, and Miami. So the schools were tied to him. If he would have showed up, they would have had to allocate him a scholarship. But as we all know, he went to Florida State. Cool, right? So you can do that. It's Martin Luther King Sunday, so you're not going to physically register anywhere. The deadline to register at, a lot of places are different days. If you're talking about Florida, their registration deadline is the 13th. If you're talking about Colorado, I think theirs is like the 19th. Miami's is like the 20-something, because we don't even start school there until next week, whereas like Florida starts this week. Florida starts next week. Miami doesn't start for 2 weeks until after King Day Monday. But like, what are you signing on Sunday, bro? You know what I mean? Like, you're not signing. I mean, if you wanted to say like I'm announcing on Sunday, that's one thing, but he's always used the verbiage signing. And I'm so sorry. Words mean things. So I don't know. That's a nice reverse layup. Oh, you missed it though. I don't know what he's signing. I mean, I guess, hey, if he wants to announce, again, that's one thing. But yeah, and I brought the registration dates because if he's working through an academic thing and he's trying to get on campus for spring, then, you have a week at one school, nine days real time, or 13 days, 14 days at other schools to physically register for class before the end of the drop ad period at the beginning of the semester. So yeah, I'm not really certain, but in any event, there are people who are like hating on Cormani. And I think that to Falcon Rex's point is wrong. This is a life decision. This is a major decision. I've talked about the fact that like I skipped 4 classes the one day I had to decide where I was going to go as a student with some scholarships one time, like partial scholarships to multiple different schools, not an athletic scholarship or anything. You know what I mean? But like, still, that was a major decision for me. And like, I took 4 out of the 8 periods of the day at Cranbrook, and I stayed in my car on a cell phone calling people at different schools and deciding and working it out at the last second because it's this major thing. So like, I think that those of us who've gone through these things, we forget that at a time, like, we were young and had to make a major decision. And everybody has a different process for it. And if this is the process for whatever reason, might not like it, but it's his. And though clearly, as I'm wearing my, home field Miami shirt, I have a rooting interest here. For the good of the Miami Hurricanes football program, I would prefer if Cormani McClain chose the University of Miami. But if it is not, then, the sun will come up tomorrow. The world keeps spinning. These bills still going to be billing, all those different kind of things. And I will honestly wish him well and keep it pushing. And I hope that the people who are so invested, and like, I know that I'm invested because like I have commented on it. People have seen me comment on it. I commented on that interview during the game yesterday from the State of the U Twitter account. I am clearly invested, but I'm not invested to the point of hatred of the player or anything like that. I think that that's maybe a bridge too far. So, I mean, I do have my view on it. I do have my hopes for it. But if he ends up choosing somewhere that's other than the University of Miami, wish him well. Good luck, Godspeed. Keep it pushing.
The critic out there is going to say, well, in this day and age, if he makes a mistake or doesn't want to stay at a particular school, he can just jump in the transfer portal. And that's all true. But at the same time, you don't want to get your career off to a bad start, making a bad choice. So
you don't want to, but also you can, recover from that. You can. Tyreek Stevenson, Frank Ladson, both South Florida guys, went other places, other very good programs in Georgia and Clemson, respectively, and said, you know what? Nah, coming back to the crib. Hey, Jonathan Dennis, teammate of theirs from South Dade before they moved on. He goes to Oregon to play for Cristobal and then comes on that. Look, we've seen it all over the world of college football. And could that be a path for Cormani where like he decides to go somewhere else and then, a year or two down the line? Because yeah, both Ladson and Stevenson were there for multiple years in their previous stops before coming back to Miami. Maybe it's until 2024 after the season going into 25 that he says, you know what? Hey, I'm going back to the crib. That could be it. But either way, even if he doesn't, get that hate out your heart. Honestly and truly.
Falcon Rex, he knows where the funding for that new football facility is coming from.
Hey, man, when I was in college, we had the joke that our tuition paid for the upkeep of a single grand royal palm tree, which is about $45,000 to $50,000 a year. So my friends and I, we all picked out our trees. So if anybody watching knows campus, if you're going past the new music library towards like the Rathskeller and the new Shalala Student Center, on the side of the Student Center, when you turn to go that way up the lake or past Lake Osceola, on the left, nearest the Rathskeller, count 1, 2, 3. That third royal palm tree was my royal palm tree. You're welcome.
So you made that determination. Hey, this is.
Yeah, we all just like, we went and picked one. And I was like, because before they built that was like a little loading dock area on towards the back of Gusman Concert Hall where we'd have all our concerts and everything. So I was like, this seems like a good place on campus. That one. And yeah, the third one on the left as you're walking towards the University Center right there. That was my palm tree.
$45,000 to $50,000 to purchase and maintain.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, but I mean, those are the big ones. Those are the, 20, 25, 30 foot.
Yeah.
Real wide. It takes 5 people to encircle the trunk. Yeah, like the big boys.
Wow.
My mother used to have 2 of those in the backyard of her house, but she just cut those down. I don't know why.
J-Love, appreciate you being here. Great show. Thank you for that. I've got a recruiting question for you that came to mind as you pointed out a few different rules and guidelines that are in place. So here's my question.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about cheating. I'm not talking about NIL necessarily. In terms of the recruiting calendar, recruiting guidelines, everything that you can think of regarding what the NCAA enforces about recruiting. What doesn't make sense to you? What do you think should be changed, if anything?
I wish that there was. I have to look. It's one of the evaluation periods. I wish was like a week or 2 longer, because there's a fall eval period. There's a spring. I've talked about this before. I think it's the spring eval period. I wish was like a week or 2 longer. But like other things, I think they've actually made the moves recently. They made the move to allow spring and summer official visits, which was huge because of moving up with or early signing day, and with early enrollees mainly being the ones looking towards that. You're going to want to connect maybe a little earlier with your desired schools. So that was a big thing. But yeah, I would say like the evaluation period, but then, yeah, I mean, I think that's really it, other than things that have been enacted.
All right, folks, welcome in. And
of course, Connor Johnson talking about Mario Cristobal not being able to coach. I mean, to a point. Like, is any coach infallible? No. Are there clear areas for growth for him? I think. Yeah, and I think that like an update to the paradigm that he has, like his overall view, And I wrote about this, like the early timeouts each half, like those can stop, like 3 minutes into the third quarter timeout on offense, which we'd seen. And then I wrote throughout the second half of the year, hey, it seems that he's updated his process finally to stop that nonsense, which is great, but this is where the comparison to a Nick Saban comes in that eventually you have to understand, once is an accident, twice is a trend, 3 times is evidence. And we have plenty of evidence that the offense that you want to run is limited somehow, right? You need to be more explosive. I still got to write that piece, but that should be coming up soon. You got to figure out a way to maximize what you're getting out of a quarterback. And you've been finding ways to minimize that with multiple quarterbacks, including Justin Herbert, who is a top 5, 7 quarterback in the league right now. And he looked like just a guy. He was extra regular, but then all of a sudden he goes to the league. I'm not saying that there's not going to be progression in the league, but why is it leaps and bounds into a brand new player every time, right? You have to realize that, recognize that, and then make a change along that path. Like Nick Saban had to go and get Lane Kiffin and said, hey, we're not going to win playing beat you up murder ball. We're going to need to throw the ball and be explosive in the passing game to continue to win at the level that we have. Go make it happen. I need to see some of that from Cristobal. And again, I'm not saying that he is Nick Saban. I'm not saying it's in a direct, analogous situation, but like, I think his shortcomings are things where he's like, I'm willing to accept these so that the program is 100% within my parameters and I'm not changing my worldview on it. I'm not changing my paradigm on it. I'm not changing my process, anything with it. I'm willing to accept this, and whatever comes. And I would like to see that become, I have a great foundation. I have a great idea of how I want things to run. But as I'm seeing the evidence of how the sport is going, I'm now going to expand my worldview. I'm going to change the paradigm slightly to take advantage of the new world order in terms specifically about pace and space on offense.
So I will let some folks know, and you're probably not necessarily the crowd to tell this to, but if you watch any of the videos that come out that are connected to these live streams, we repurpose the video. We're on here with Cam for an hour. We slice it up based on, the topics, and then they're released. Now, we try to stay on top of, especially in this time of year, at any point, Cam could talk about a guy and he could jump in the transfer portal, or he could, having already been in the transfer portal, selected Miami just right after. So we're not going to hit it every time in regards to this has nothing to do with Cam. I just went by a comment that said, Cam, why are you posting this video? Cam doesn't post any videos first and foremost. And
these are also recorded live. So like we're having this conversation, and then like if something happens, like we sign off at 8:02 and then something happens at 9:13. Not back on here till next Wednesday, guys. So like there's no, update, so, but I get it. In terms of the transfer portal, however, Demario Tolan from Orlando, Dr. Phillips, 4-star linebacker last year, went to LSU. He just announced that he's going in the portal. Call him. Also, Anthony Lucas, who's Haitian-American descent. Both of his parents, he was born in Miami. He grew up in Miami before he moved to Arizona. He signed with Texas A&M, played 7 games as a true freshman last year, 6'6", 270 defensive lineman, going towards being a defensive tackle. Also in the transfer portal in the last 26 hours. Call him. Just play the hook from Tyrone over and over again. Like, those are 2 dudes right there. Yeah.
Our buddy J Love is asking about whether this current class can surpass 2014.
Well, let's, take a gander back at 2014 just to be clear about who we're talking about. Is that no, that's not, because he was 15, but my computer's working quickly. Oh, this is, I'm looking right at the top. This is the Brad Kaya year, yeah. So Chad Thomas, Joe Yearby, Casey McDermott, Trevor Darling, Brad Kaya, Anthony Moten, Key Hester, who didn't even play here and left. Trusty Trent Harris, always doing his job. Darion Owens, Braxton Berrios, Mike Smith, Demetrius Jackson, Daryl Langham, Calvin Hurtaloo, Mike Weish, Ryan Mays, Trayon Gray, Chris Herndon, Juwan Young, Tyree Brady, who left and had a good career at Marshall, Marcus Gayo, who had to retire because of a neck injury. The one that you're really going to talk about there is David Njoku being a 3-star athlete and number 851 nationally.
Wow.
Developing into a first-round draft pick. Malik Rozier, Cortell Jenkins, Nick Linder, Terry McRae, and Judge Joe Brown. This class can absolutely 100% surpass that class. Now, it did have some heat at the top there, like Brad Kaya, all-time career leading passer. So, that's a big one. You had, Joe Yearby, who was very solid. Chad Thomas, was a 5-star. He didn't live all the way up to that, but he was still solid. Casey McDermott and Trevor Darling. I think, McDermott was more of a tackle. Darling was really more of a guard than a tackle. Anthony Moten was kind of extra regular. Key Hester, I was really excited about. He was probably one of my favorite players in the class, but he transferred home to New Jersey. Trusty Trent Harris just did his job, bro. He was wherever you needed him to be. He was there. He didn't get fooled on a misdirection or anything. I mean, Braxton Berrios then got a second contract in the league. That's
absolutely,
a real steal there. So, I mean, yeah, I think that there's good talent here. Mike Smith played, Darian Owens played well here, but I mean, this class absolutely has the ability to surpass the 14 class. In terms of the offensive line being as good as, 13 or better, the pieces are there for sure. I mean, you got 2 5-star tackles, you got, a bunch of other, blue chip guys. Another 4-star in there. You get an interior lineman in Tripp. You get Frankie Tinalau, who was, really, really good. He's a high ceiling potential prospect coming from Australia, playing Australian rules football and everything. So that's there. Mark is running down the 13 class there, and there were some hits and misses. Hunter Knighton was a miss. Ray Lewis III, Alex Gall. Sonia Dogwu played well. Gus Edwards still in the league. Afumba Kamalu. Well, Gus Edwards, I know he transferred, but still. Kamalu was in the league. Jermaine Grace, I mean, he got kicked out his last year on some... If Jermaine Grace was able to play that last year at Miami, I mean, I think his career goes differently. I think Miami plays better because he was the kind of linebacker we needed in terms of size and speed. You can scroll up. Because I'm reading it off of this screen that you're on. No, the other way. Sorry. Jamal Carter, still in the league. Stan Dobard, I mean, he wasn't really great. Corn Elder, he's bouncing around like practice squads, but he was second team All ACC. Bo Sandland, that didn't work out. Shout out to John, former managing editor of State of the U. That was his favorite dude ever. Artie Burns was a number 1 draft pick. Yeah. Kevin Olsen, obviously, he got kicked out because of a sexual assault charge, and then had another one later. So that's exterior to football. Stacey Coley, I thought was going to be the number 1 player in America when I saw him single-handedly beat the state championship caliber Miramar team in high school. And then the Qatari prince himself, Al-Qadim Mohammed, who shout out to JP for that nickname. I remember we had that from way back, but because he always had the bling. He looked like a Qatari prince, bro. But he's still in the league. And I know he got dismissed at the same time as Grace did, but I mean, imagine him and Grace on that defense that last year. And like when Muhammad came in, and those 3 stripes are, yes, Adidas, but that's also from the All-American game, right? So he's All-American edge rusher. And at that practices for that, he said, I got moves on moves and pass rush moves you've never seen before. I said, that's wow. Okay. And then you think, okay, he got kicked out of Miami and he's still clocking snaps and sacks in the league for the Indianapolis Colts right now. Now, they're not the best team in the league, but, he's still out there. He's still making plays happen. My mentions pop up and I tweet something, whenever I see, Al-Qadim Muhammad do stuff. But, that was a solid class as well. But, I mean, this class being top 5 has, at, the point of evaluation, and I agree, has more talent than both of those. I mean, if you take the top end of 13 and 14 and put them together, you're getting the kind of quality that you're getting in this class with Miami. Now, there needs to be development, and the performance needs to translate to the college level from what we've seen at the high school level. I mean, in this current class, go back. Let me see. In this current class, the only player, and this is partial, but the only player who has partially not shown their ability is Collins Anchampong, because he tore a knee up as a senior after 5 games. But again, this is a kid who had, 50-something tackles, almost double-digit tackles for loss, and 8.5 or 9 sacks as a freshman in high school. And then COVID hits and everything, and being a legit 6'7", 6'8", decides, I'm going to go play basketball full time and focus on that. And then he transfers to Santa Margarita Catholic, and then says, hey, you know what? Maybe let's look at football as being my path forward. So, I mean, he only has a season and a half at the high school level, but like outside of that, even for guys who I think are underrated per their performance, it's been demonstrated on the field. So now what we need is for them to demonstrate what they did in high school or a reasonable progression thereof, depending on their role and engagement on the offense or defense, to Miami, and also continue to develop both their skills, techniques, and body. Those things have not happened to this point for a lot of these guys or a lot of these highly rated recruits in the past. We are seeing some of it now. Cam Kinton's, James Williams, not a perfect player, but still developing. Leonard Taylor, things like that. But, it's really from now we have gourmet ingredients, right? If you burn what you're cooking, it don't taste good, right? So now we had to do our part to make those ingredients into a nice savory or sweet, hey, if you want to bake, whatever, cool. But you got to take those incredible ingredients and then realize it into something incredible to consume in terms of the play on the field. But, that's the job and the responsibility of the coaching staff, and we'll see if they're able to do it.
Final question. On the night, we've got Miami Canes 83. Cam, why doesn't Miami go after Roderick Pleasant harder, since we don't know what Cormani McClain is going to do?
This is assuming Miami doesn't know what Cormani is going to do. Now, I mean, he has maintained that he is committed to Miami. And I mean, he did say that at the Under Armour All-American game yesterday. But at a point, do not ever forget that relationships matter. And sometimes you can go after somebody late and say, hey, had a spot open. We were waiting to see what you did senior year. Sometimes you can, other times you cannot. Right? If you go back to that 2013 class with Jermaine Grace, if you remember, the linebacker, so Jermaine Grace was supposed to be the other linebacker in that class. The number one linebacker target and in the country was Matthew Thomas from Booker T. Washington. Miami went all in on Matthew Thomas. I'm saying this because I know people who were involved. I was there. I was deep in the world of recruiting that time, 10 toes down, like in the streets, trust me. Went after Matthew Thomas. Matthew Thomas signs with FSU. Matthew Thomas then comes out and says, Southern Cal was my number 2. Miami wasn't even top 2, borderline, maybe even top 3, which is a gut punch because you're trying to get Matthew Thomas as your number 1 and then Jermaine Grace as your number 2. Because, Matthew Thomas was 6'4", can run. Jermaine Grace was, 6'2", and a little bit thin for the position, but, can still play. So you're looking at that. So then on signing day, because Booker T's ceremony was before American Heritage ceremony. On signing day, Miami called to offer Sky Moore a scholarship, SKAI. He played at South Carolina, played linebacker. Literally, it was like 8 to 10 minutes before their ceremony started. Said, nah, kick rocks. I'm going where I'm going. I wanted to be a Hurricane. I came to the camps. I basically begged and pleaded. And y'all said, nah, we got big 6. That's what they, because it's jersey number. That's what we call Mac Thomas. We got big 6 in the bag. So we don't got room for 3. We're taking big 6. We got the Grace kid from Miramar, first team All-State. Nah, you miss on that. Call him late. Says no, absolutely not. Similar but different. Mike Harley at Aquinas. Mike Harley always wanted to be a Hurricane. You saw how much he exuded that love of the U when he was at Miami, when he was playing, when he catch a touchdown and everything, every interview, every community service, everything. He loved being a Hurricane and he wanted to for a long time. But Miami was not coming after him. Miami was going after other guys, and he was committed to West Virginia. And then finally, somebody grew a brain and was like, hold on, wait. The best high school team in America has the best wide receiver on their team who is a senior and wants to be a Hurricane, and we're not recruiting him. Why? Now, why is that? Using the Brian Windhorst. Now, why could that be? And finally, they did reach out to him and everything. And it was later in the process. It was like October, November, and he was like, what? And like, we had the joke, most everybody in the world of recruiting, that bowl game, the Russell Athletic Bowl, was the Mike Harley Bowl. And whichever team won that bowl game would be the team that signed Harley. Now, Harley was going to come to Miami, but because we hit him late, but not too late in the process, right? And his relationship to Miami was such of great desire that when Miami reached out with even a modicum of time left in the cycle, he still said, that's going to be my spot. I say all of that to say, pulling up on Roderick Pleasant, who's an All-American, who teams have been recruiting consistently and solidly for 2 years or longer, I don't necessarily think that that's going to go the way that you want it to go at this late hour, when relationships matter. And we've heard that time and time again. Everybody thought Lorenzo Lingard was going to Florida. Relationship, he comes to Miami. Everybody thought that Avante Williams was going to Florida. Relationship from the years even before, because he's Lingard's cousin. So that connection, he was there when Lingard was getting recruited before he was even in the recruiting window. But he had that multiple year relationship of coming to camps and all those things with Ephraim Banda and the staff. He ends up coming to Miami, right? So, yeah, it would be nice to just have things go like the old video game, where it's just like, I'm going to allocate all the points I can, and I'm an incredible program, and I'm going to, luck into the top 3 recruiting pitches, and this guy's going to come, in the last little bit when, whoever's been recruiting him the entire time. I just don't necessarily think that that's reasonable or viable. And I mean, for Miami's side, regardless of what Cormani McClain does, I mean, I know that there is the fallacy of the sunk cost and being pot committed and like, well, I've invested too much to walk away from. I know that and there are times when, like, yeah, you got, even if you've invested almost everything, you got to walk away. This one, no. This is a huge, a great player, an incredible recruitment. If you are able to go into Lakeland and pull a player like this from Polk County or whatnot, no, we've ridden this far, like in for a penny, in for a pound, in for a dime, in for a dollar. Even if he on the 15th says Iowa State, he could call the name of any school that's not Miami. No, you do not abandon ship. You have to see this all the way through. And if it hits and lands and he picks signs, whatever he signs to Miami, great. And if he signs somewhere else, again, good luck and Godspeed. And then you just got to hold that L and you got to go down with that ship. But what we're not going to do is get to 11 days away from whenever he's announcing or signing whatever, and then just saying, we're going to pivot off. No. Now you're up the creek without a paddle. You're nowhere near close enough connected to Roderick Pleasant in terms of relationship. Whatever relationship you did have, being close in proximity to Cormani McClain, now you're just going to abandon that at the very 11th hour-ish? No, you got to see it through. You have to see it through. Whether it hits or whether it doesn't, you got to see it through. And hopefully the work that you've done in terms of, and continue to do, because you can at least, text and call and things like that at this point. All of that you're doing, hopefully it pays off. But yeah, no, if you were going to pivot to Roderick Pleasant, the time was long ago. And yeah, that window is closed and that ship has sailed. So you got to be all in with Cormani McClain. Unless the only other variable here is if Roderick Pleasant calls. Oh my God, Falcon Rex, Lord Jesus. But if Roderick Pleasant calls and is like, hey, I want in, that's a different scenario. But then again, if Roderick Pleasant calls and says he wants in, you recruit him and continue recruiting Cormani McClain because you have an uncapped scholarship here, so you can take them both. So it's definitely not a zero-sum game. It's definitely not an either-or situation.
Folks, do you appreciate this? We get Cam every Wednesday. Yes. Every Wednesday, 7 o'clock Eastern time. And please subscribe and hit the bell for the notifications, because every so often we've got to reschedule. But typically 98% of the time, at least, we are here. 300 shows, and Cam delivers every time. So hope you understand what we have here each and every Wednesday night. Bring some other folks into the chat, because what happens there is that if I add up the numbers and so forth and I present that to a potential sponsor, then they're going to be more impressed the more views we have, of course. All right, Cam, we appreciate it. Certainly let people know what you've got there at the State of the U.
Yeah, we obviously still have all of the recruiting notebooks and all that stuff. We're going to continue that through the February signing period. I'm going to wait till then to do all of the, superlatives and grades and all that kind of stuff, because the recruiting cycle is still ongoing, if you did not know. But we have started the State of the U awards, so we do have our position recaps going up. I just saw the State of the U award for the Play of the Year is up. That went up a few days ago. And then the State of the U award for the Game of the Year, which I believe had the Player of the Year in the Game of the Year, is up as well. No, I'm not going to tell you. That is what we call a tease, but it is there. They're well written. Mike Schiffman is doing great stuff there. Mike Schiffman, who is going to be recapping tonight's basketball game. He's leading that coverage. He and Chris Piccaro. So, we have our Monday This Week in Canes basketball, covering both the men's and women's teams. We have those things going up. All of those notebooks, all the State of the Awards, retrospectives and other things ongoing, and even more. There was a thing about movement by Justin Tavio. Congratulations, because he just got a new yoga certification for flexibility and core strength, which are, he believes, foundational to athletic performance, and hopefully his team will be able to benefit from that as well. The Hurricanes might from similar things. So we have the things that you expect, and then things like the yoga core movement things that you don't expect but are better than your lack of expectation could have even led you to believe. So you see it on the screen right there. StateOfTheU.com, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at The State of the U. My personal Twitter account is Underwood Sports, and we will see you soon. So please come on over and fan with us. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that everybody is healthy and well.
Thanks, man. You make it happen here. We appreciate it.
See you guys.